Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, the Fireside Chat with Pactiv. My name is Claire Alloway, and I am a part of the marketing team here at Jobvite. I'm going to be moderating a little bit before we get to the actual presentation. So to get started, first off, you'll notice all of your lines are muted, and that's just to avoid background noise. But we would love to have your questions in the chat box. We're going to be holding that at the end of the presentation. So if you look in the bottom right hand side of the Ready Talk window, you'll see that chat box. Use that to ask anything and everything you want of our presenters today. And here are their lovely faces. So we have Terry, who is a talent manager at Pactiv, and Joe, who is the VP and Chief Human Resources Officer at Pactiv. And there's my face there. So I will let Terry introduce herself and give you a little bit more background on who she is and her past experience.
Great. Thanks so much, Claire. So I have been with Pactiv for about 6 years, and I've really enjoyed the different roles that I've had with Pactiv because they've all been roles focused on supporting and accelerating, both our really great employees, but also our organization. And whether that's been in talent acquisition or employee development and learning, talent management, planning, execution, wherever it's been throughout our organization, there are definitely some synergies that we've been able to pull together and really leverage for a really integrated and holistic approach to our growth. And then I'd also like to introduce Joe Gregorio, and Joe's going to tell you a little bit about himself.
Thank you, Terry, and thank you, Claire. Good morning, good afternoon, all of you on the call. As you can see, my name is Joe Gregorio. I'm the Vice President and Chief Human Resources Officer at Pactiv. If you start reading through this quick bio, two things should stand out. One, I'm old, and two, I've done this for a very long time. Actually in my 35th year of practicing HR throughout my career. For those of you who've been around that long, you probably also know that human resources wasn't even known 35 years ago. And in fact, when I first started, it was called personnel, and I studied personnel and industrial relations. I've had the fortunate opportunity to work for some very large companies at Honeywell, American Airlines, TWA, Revlon, and Macy's before coming to Pactiv, and I've been here at Pactiv for 6.5 years as the VP and CHRO. Why am I still doing this after 35 years? It's because I love what I do. I wake up every morning looking forward to coming to work. It's always a challenge. And I've had the opportunity to help organizations drive growth through human capital. One of the things we'd like to do now is find out a little bit about yourself. As you can see, there is a poll question in front of you that indicates what is your job function. And if you could please select what you do, we'd like to know a little bit more about yourself as well. All right. I'm going to ask you one more question. As you can see here, most of you are from the recruiting area, so that's going to help in facilitating our discussion. And then as we move to the next question, tell us a little bit about what kind of industry you're in. This will also help to facilitate and maybe take a look at it from our point of view or your point of view. We'll give it a couple of more seconds to get some more responses. All right. So we have quite a bit in technology and then some others, some manufacturing and business services. So it's a good mix of different organizations that you come from. Well, let me tell you a little bit about Pactiv and who we are. We'll move along to the slide here that tells a little bit about who we are. Pactiv is a global industry leader. We're the largest food service, food packaging entity in the world. You may not know about us, and most people don't wake up saying, oh, yes, we know about Pactiv, but I could probably guarantee that you will touch our products pretty much every day. We have 17,000 SKUs, 17,000 different types of products of all types, materials, shapes, and sizes in food service, food packaging entity. As you can see from this slide, there is a variety of different products that we really package for all of the consumers. And our customers are the end consumers, such as yourself, restaurant chains and companies like McDonald's, Starbucks, restaurant owners who use takeout type of foods and utensils, and everything in between. We're the largest egg carton manufacturer in the world. We're the largest manufacturer of food disposable products in the world as well. And what we do is we have 11,000 employees in over 6 countries, selling about $4 billion worth of products. In North America, we have 50 plants and some distribution centers, and we're primarily a North America-centric company. And we're really located, as you can see here, where our customers are. We operate in Lake Forest and headquartered in Lake Forest, Illinois, and we have a lot of facilities in the West in California, down south in Texas, and through the Midwest and in the East Coast, also in Canada and Mexico, and we also operate some facilities in other parts of the country. At the end of the day, really what it's all about is our people. We have dedicated long service employees. Our average length of service is 23 years. We operate primarily in a manufacturing environment, and we value our people from the top down. Safety, customer trust, continuous improvement, teamwork, communications, accountability, those are all our core values. And it really starts and ends with our employees and the value that we place on them, which is really going to lead us to some of the discussion we're going to have today.
And so for this question, I wanted to ask you, Irv, what do today's macroeconomics mean for you and your industry?
So let's talk a little bit about what's happening. We, as I said, are a U.S.-centric manufacturing company. 9,000 out of our 11,000 employees work in plants, warehouses, and regional distribution centers. And we don't have to go too far to know that the world is changing. More jobs are coming back to the U.S., more manufacturing jobs are coming back to the U.S. We've already seen that happen, and hopefully more will do so in the coming years. That's an excitement to us, but it's also a challenge to us. We have to be ready. We're changing our paradigm. We're trying to recruit for more technical jobs, train leads, floor leads and supervisors in some soft skills, drive performance management into the plants and out of the corporate function. We're making it here in the U.S. We're striving to ensure that we keep the jobs in the U.S. We're not going to go abroad. In fact, we've sold 2 of our foreign entities in the last year alone because really what we want to do is ensure that we have products that are being made here. But with that comes challenges. That has not been the case in recent years, where manufacturing jobs were leaving the country. And from a recruitment standpoint, we have to really change how we're looking at the type of people that we're getting and who we're getting.
Yeah, and that opens up a great question. As you are expanding your prospective talent pool and candidates, what effects have millennials had on Pactiv's recruiting strategy?
Yeah, it's interesting, Claire, that there's so much talk regarding millennials. And in fact, we've talked about it so much that there's actually another generation that's coming up too, Generation Z. They're the ones that are really coming out of school right now. And the talk about that has been mixed. What do you do? What's happening now? Well, we're facing it here. As I said, we have long service employees, but we also have employees coming into the workforce. We have 4 generations of employees working together. That's something that's never happened not only at Pactiv, but it's never happened in industry. And one of the things that makes it interesting is, what do you do? How do you recruit for that, what it was like? There's no pipeline right now that exists for skilled and technical labor. We're very concerned from a manufacturing standpoint to really get those folks back into the work stream that'll help us grow from a manufacturing standpoint. When I was coming out of school many years ago, there were different tracks for individuals to take. You could go to a college track and obviously look at studying something of interest, move on, get a college degree, or continue on into an accelerated program or an advanced program. But there was also another track. There was a technical track. If you really weren't going to go down that education route from a college standpoint, but you wanted to get a skilled trade, you could do that. And there are many schools and many opportunities. And that was very popular. And in fact, you could actually continue on and make probably more money than with that college degree back then in that technical track. Those folks, like myself, are now moving 20, 30 years into their career, and they're retiring. And what's happening is that group is not coming in. So we have to decide what do we need to do to get that. We have to provide opportunities and career paths that will not just try to get more technical work in, but build a foundation and a base, create a succession plan for them. But the millennials, as we go back to talking about them, who want to get a college degree, move on, get a graduate degree, come into work, and then they're not going to just stay for the sake of staying like you and I did. They're not going to stay because they just have to keep their head down and move forward. They want something different. They want to look at the opportunity to move vertically, move horizontally. How do you do that? You've got to provide a recruiting strategy to do that. We have to ensure that we know what they want and not just what we want. We have to ensure that we know how they want to work and what they want to do in order to maintain that commitment. And that commitment is no longer 10, 20, 30 years down the road. The commitment we've seen here is to be able to interest and change opportunities every 6 to 9 months or every year. And for anyone who has worked with millennials or is a parent of a millennial, and my wife and I are the proud owners of 2 millennials, know that there are challenges, but there are also great opportunities. Millennials have more of an opportunity, or the new workforce that's coming into the work is looking at it from a different point of view. They have a lot of capacity. They don't have any fear. They ask a lot of questions, but they're willing to do a lot of work as well. So it's adapting that opportunity and making sure they're engaged. The sad part about it is that millennials, as well as most employees, are not engaged. Recent reports here, as you can see from the employee engagement survey that Gallup did, is that only 32% of employees feel that they're actively engaged with their current position. Employee engagement is huge, and we'll be talking a little bit about that as well. But if we can't get employees to be engaged, they're not going to stay. In order to do that, we have to get them right from the beginning. And more companies, such as ourselves, are investing more time in training, investing more money in training, and really trying to do 2 things. Talent is a life cycle, and it starts at the beginning with recruitment and then takes them through their entire life at the organization. And what I'd like to do now is turn it over to Terry for the next question.
Yeah, definitely. I just wanted to set this up a little bit. This is Claire. So Pactiv has done a lot in the past few years to rebuild your recruiting strategy. And I know Terry and I have talked a little bit about what the past recruiting strategy looked like at Pactiv and how much work has been done to improve upon it. I was wondering if you could give us a little more detail.
Absolutely. Thanks, Claire. So Joe touched on the core values here that we have here at Pactiv, and again, they were safety, accountability, communication, teamwork, continuous innovation, and customer trust. And those core values really help keep us moving together in the same direction as really one big team. Now, that one that we talked about, continuous innovation, I think that in many ways, this one helps us to always be looking for different methods to improve our organization. And so with that in mind, in 2012, we took a really hard look at what we had in place, and we realized that we had some serious issues with our entire talent cycle, starting with talent acquisition. So, at the time, we had an outdated ATS. It really wasn't able to keep up with the needs of our very active organization. And that led to a lot of daily frustrations and lost time for both our HR team as well as our hiring managers. Our recruiting team at the time also was different than what we have now. It included 2 really dedicated professionals, but they were contractors, so they weren't really Pactiv employees, and they didn't necessarily know all the details and the intricacies of our business and the types of roles that they were filling. And then as a result, that led to a serious overdependence on external agencies. You know, at our worst, we actually had about 75 different agencies, and we were spending just about $3 million on external hires. So you can kind of get a sense that our process was sort of broken, our tools weren't really working the way that they were supposed to, our internal customers weren't really very happy, and our HR team was just trying to hold all of this together. So we truly needed a fresh start. So we started at the beginning. You know, we started with our talent acquisition system. We did some research. We narrowed down a really broad field of possible solutions down to about 3 or 4 main options. And then we pulled together a small focus group of our own HR folks and our hiring managers, because their opinion, their feedback, and their knowledge from using this type of a system on a daily basis was so very important. We brought everybody together for a day to learn about these different options and then share some opinions and feedback. And basically, the focus group is who selected Jobvite as our new applicant tracking system provider, which, I mean, from my point of view, I feel very fortunate about that because Jobvite was our choice too, so I'm glad that we were completely aligned at the very beginning. And now, at the same time we were going through this process, we were also really redesigning our entire recruiting strategy. So we hired 2 full-time Pactiv recruiters, and we eliminated all of the agencies, every single one. Of course, the agencies told us that, you know, we'd never survive this move and that we'd be back as soon as we had a few failures. But, you know, that was about 4 years ago. So we're doing just fine with that thought and that direction. And so were we moving in the right direction at that point? Yeah, we really felt that we were. But we also knew that our next hurdle was really helping our candidates learn about who we are, who Pactiv is, kind of like what Joe was talking about. You know, what is our story and what products do we make and how do they impact lives every day? Now, because we happen to be owned by a single individual who is a very private businessman, we don't often engage in a lot of external communication. But when it comes to recruiting efforts, our candidates really had to know who we were so that we could attract that level of talent that we needed to not only, you know, work for today, but build up that base going forward. And so we decided to really slowly start building a recruiting strategy that included increasing our branding and our name recognition to our job seekers. Now, how we did this, we started making connections and building partnerships. So, you know, first, of course, we partnered with Jobvite. That was that partnership between our organization and our applicant tracking system. But it's not just a vendor relationship, it's really more of a partnership. And then we also partnered with LinkedIn. We built a company page there, we grew interest, and we grew followers. And then as Jobvite was now implemented, we also encouraged our HR team and our hiring managers to not just be active on LinkedIn, but to really connect their Jobvite and LinkedIn accounts so that the Jobvite system could do that heavy lifting of getting, you know, our open positions posted, you know, out through that connection out to their network. So that's a continuous and ongoing process. We also really wanted to help them understand, you know, them being our HR team and our hiring managers, understand that recruiting is really a social activity, and the more that they could connect with others and share our message, our Pactiv story, the more effective the overall recruiting efforts were going to be. And so also to try to ensure that we're connecting across generations and different groups of job seekers, we also built similar types of partnerships like with the Muse. It's another site which is really geared a little bit more toward the millennial job seeker, and also to some extent with Indeed and Career Builder as well. And then internally, we also developed an internal career site. And so this was an effort to really encourage our own employees to look for their next career move right here at Pactiv, to keep them here with us. And so we developed an employee referral program and also tried to connect new employees through our current employees and then turn around and reward those employees for any of the connection efforts. So what did all of this do? Well, all of these efforts really combined to improve our branding, our name recognition, our internal employee understanding of the recruiting process, and then ultimately the candidate experience. And we'll look at what some of that impact was in a few minutes. Now, as the efforts were really showing some positive results, we also knew we had to keep it going. You know, continuous innovation means continuous, so we had to keep the momentum moving. And to really reach that next level, we needed to jump into mobile recruiting. And I got to be honest that Jobvite made this one pretty easy for us with our Jobvite mobile career site. And again, we'll take a look at that, what that really looks like and how it works in a few minutes. But on the back end, with just a little bit of code from Jobvite that we sent over to our IT team, we're now able to redirect job seekers who are using a mobile device to search for jobs to our mobile optimized career site. And it's completely mobile, and it gives the busy job seekers that are out there in the world today the quick and easy initial apply process that they truly need. So this planned approach has shown some improvements in our candidate life cycle, which is really so very similar to our customer life cycle. You know, as a company, we know the importance of working with and treating our customers really well, and we completely value them. I mean, literally, we would not be here without the amazing customers that we have. But before they become a customer, before they are a customer, they have to go through a process of finding out about or discovering Pactiv, kind of exploring a little bit more, you know, learning about what we have to offer. And then hopefully this leads to them making the decision to try our products out. And then when they start to use them and then their customers are using our products, they really truly see the value that Pactiv brings to what we do. And then we partner with these customers so that we can meet their specific needs and try to become, have them become truly engaged. And the candidate life cycle is really much very similar process. What often starts that discovery phase for a candidate is really one of those social recruiting efforts that we talked about, like LinkedIn or the Muse, or maybe the employee referral programs through Jobvite. However our candidates do find us, we want to make sure that their experience is as positive as it can possibly be, which enables them to walk really confidently through that life cycle from job seeker to, hopefully, a Pactiv employee. And then, as important as that candidate experience is, our hiring managers and their experience is just as vital. Because if you think about it, you know, what we talked about earlier on is part of the reason that we went down this path of rebuilding our talent acquisition was to better meet the needs of those internal customers, our hiring managers. So the experience that they have with our talent acquisition process, and whether that's Jobvite or working with one of our great recruiting team or our HR team, their experience is a key to ensuring that we're able to help them be successful by helping them find the right person for their open role. And so, you know, that brings us to a question of, are all these efforts really important? I mean, do they even really matter? And we definitely think yes, they do. Almost 60% of job seekers are going to use some sort of social media to learn about a company culture before applying. So the efforts to share the Pactiv story and our value and our culture that we have, that effort is so very key to reaching and attracting the job seekers that we need. And so that kind of leads us to our next poll question, and to help us understand a little bit about how folks out there are actually engaged within mobile recruiting. So I think the question is, are you currently using mobile recruiting strategies at your company? And if you could just let us know, that would be really great. So just one more time, the question again is, Are you currently using mobile recruiting strategies at your company? All right. So it looks like yes, there's some that are saying kind of, we could do a little bit better, and a few folks out there who are still looking to get into that field. And so, some of the information that we're going to be talking about might be helpful in that way. I think the social recruiting and branding efforts that we have been talking about, they dovetail into mobile recruiting. And as Joe talked about, our world is so much more mobile and on the go than ever before. I mean, we have to make sure that we're not just taking the opportunity, but we have to make the opportunity to connect with job seekers who are on the go, busy and active and involved. And the way to do that really is to be able to reach out to them on a mobile platform. And our data shows that what we have done has improved our overall candidate experience, and it has increased our brand recognition among our job seekers. And this has really helped to develop our talent pools as well. And, we've built elements of this into both our external and our internal career sites via the notification feature on Jobvite. So on both career sites, folks can sign up for job notifications. And you can see that here on the screen, what it looks like on both the desktop or the career site and what it would look like on the mobile platform as well. Now, what we find so interesting is that only 5 to 10% of Fortune 500 companies enable job seekers to apply from a mobile device, and at the same time, 50% of job seekers find applying for a mobile job online to be really difficult. So, with the growth in mobile use and the need to truly and meaningfully connect with job seekers, we see the need to have that seamless mobile apply process as absolutely vital to what we're trying to do and what we're trying to build here at Pactiv. So I mentioned before that we take a quick look at what the mobile apply really looks like, and I think you can all see that from here. And so if you are on Pactiv.com as a job seeker and you're looking at our open positions, you can read the job description and the qualifications right from your mobile device. You don't have to go anywhere different. And then you can click the apply button. But so many job seekers are busy in the moment, so they may choose to click the apply later button. And then at that time, they can also share the position on social media, which we absolutely hope that they do, because that just increases our reach to the job seeker group. And then when they do apply, they're going to be asked to upload a resume. So, not everybody has a resume handy or a Dropbox, but you can actually take a picture from your phone and upload the picture. And then what we see on the back end as kind of the administrative experience is seamless. It's a great image, so there's no issue there, which is good to know from the user side. Then after they've uploaded the resume, they're going to provide some really basic contact information, and then have the optional choice of connecting a social profile or adding some extra additional information, and then a few questions, and that's it. They're done. So that's what our mobile process looks like, and a little bit about the effectiveness that we've seen as an organization.
Great. And along with that, and talking about mobile recruiting, one of the bigger pain points that I've heard from our prospects as well as our customers is recruiting analytics. So, Irv, I was wondering if you could talk a little bit more about how recruiting analytics have helped Pactiv and how they will help you guys in the future.
So I'll take that question, Claire. It's kind of interesting, and what we've done here is we've thrown a whole ton of just some general information on there. But let me walk us through what is data analytics. What does it mean to us? Terry pointed to a picture and a point in time in 2012 when we had a world-class organization that was number one in its category. We had great employees. And we really had a system that didn't work. And we weren't even able to track what was there. All we knew was that we were spending a lot of money going outside to headhunters and recruitment agencies and partners to try to get talent. And I think that Terry was trying to be a little too nice to say that we were struggling. $3 million in 1 year, again, based on the size of the company. It could be large, could be small. For us, was extraordinary. We hired hundreds of people a year, and this is on the salaried side alone we're talking about, where we hired thousands and thousands on the hourly side, and we knew we were spending a lot of money. In fact, last year we spent $150,000, and we've hired more people. But we didn't even have the ability to track that. Our contract recruiters were doing everything they could, and we couldn't tell, and I couldn't tell the CEO, my boss, how well we were doing, because all he saw was the fact that we were spending a lot of money. Now we have an opportunity. We've developed with Jobvite, but we've developed as an organization a way of really trying to see where we are. So as you can see here, some of the analytics that we use. We have the opportunity to have a face and a voice on different social media. Terry mentioned the Muse. The Muse is a great recruitment site that allows us to not only post jobs, but to tell a story. The Muse is directed towards millennial professional potential employees. But it's not just a job board. In today's world, people don't want to look for jobs. They want to look for opportunities. They want to know a little bit about the company. We can tell our story this way now. We can do it in our own internal site. We can do it by way of LinkedIn, as you can see across the top. We can build and let people know what it is that they're looking for. The mobility of doing something with your phone is amazing. And from the group that we have here, there's probably more and more that probably would like to do it. It's not that difficult. Jobvite's a great tool to allow to do it. But most employees are not going to be sitting around looking at jobs or sitting in front of a computer. They're moving. They're applying to positions while they're working, unfortunately, at times. I go back to a story that it hits home. My daughter, who lives on the East Coast, while she was coming out of school, was trying to find some work, was interviewing. While she was interviewing and sitting in the lobby waiting for an interview, she was applying for jobs. And in one case, she actually told me that she left the interview because she saw something else that looked better down the road just by being on a website, just by being mobile. We can now track different talent acquisition reports. We can look at the number of jobs we filled. We can look at the ability to see how quickly and how well we do with our recruitment, our time to fill numbers, our cost per hire numbers, how much do we spend in relocation. This has all been part of the opportunity to have statistical information at our fingertips to be able to do that. And from a turnover standpoint, we can see where we stand up against the industry. So those are just some of the tools that we've gotten over the last 4 to 5 years. Solely by Jobvite, no, but as an opportunity to have that as our backbone to be able to do it where we didn't have it in the past. And finally, it allows us to be compliant. We're a government contractor, and obviously through the Office of Federal Contract Compliance Programs, the OFCCP, we have to provide statistical information, affirmative action plans on our employees, on our applicant tracking, and so forth. And we've been able to do that now and feel very comfortable with it. But with this kind of information and with this kind of analytics, and where Jobvite was able to help us be that backbone ATS to do so, we've really been able to step it up from a recruitment and talent acquisition standpoint and really put us in a position to find, get, and retain the best talent out there.
That's really great to hear. And so I wanted to move on now to our Q&A portion of the presentation. And if anyone on the line right now has any questions for Joe and Terry, please feel free to add them into the chat box, and we'll get to as many as we can. So I just wanted to start off with one question, since, Joe, you just spoke about the recruiting analytics and metrics that are really important at Pactiv. I was wondering if you could, and maybe Terry, you have some thoughts here as well, go through what are kind of the key metrics or key reports that you look to every day or every quarter that you make sure that what are the most important ones that you make sure you're keeping updated and looking at as frequently as possible?
So it's kind of interesting. The standard reports that we've always used in the past, everyone always wanted to be interested in time to fill, and we do track time to fill, but we're really not that interested in how fast we track how fast we fill jobs. I know the hiring managers are, and I know a lot of other folks would say that should be your only metric. But we use that as a baseline to really take the next step, which we look at, and that's how well are we doing? So how do you determine not how quickly you hire someone, but how well you hired someone? So we started to trace and track what is the turnover in the first year, let's say. What's the upward mobility? How many of these employees are promoted within the first year or 2 years? Because that really talks more of quality than quantity. The fact that we hire someone quickly means nothing if we lose them. So we're looking at that. Cost per hire obviously has always been a metric that every HR organization that we've ever that I've ever worked in is important. As I said, the first thing the CEO told me when I took this position is, we're spending a lot of money, get rid of that. Figure out another way of doing it. So now it's, again, the quality of the money that we're spending. And in all honesty, the fact that you could set up an internal recruitment function and not have to go to outside agencies. We still get a ton of calls, but we very rarely use that. And I'm not talking about middle-level jobs only. We're talking all the way up to and including senior-level staff positions at the CEO level and below that we've been able to do internally by having these different types of methods. Terry, anything you want to add to that?
Only the fact that the Jobvite reporting tools that we do have available to us allow us to meet a lot of the different reporting requirements or requests that we get from our hiring managers internally or from different departments. So there's a number of reporting tools that are just kind of built in the back of Jobvite, and it makes that process easier of being able to pull that data and to be able to turn around and provide that.
And the ability for our hiring managers to see real time what's going on. What's going on with their applicant flow? What's going on with a particular candidate? And we deal with 2,000 salaried employees across the country, North America, Mexico. And we've now actually embedded over the last couple of years of using Jobvite as part of our ATS for our hourly recruitment. Then we move into the thousands of jobs at that point.
Wow. So going back to the mobile recruiting section that Terry covered, we had a question from Melissa, and it was very simply, how do we go about setting up a mobile recruiting site?
It's a really good question, but like I said, I think Jobvite really did most of that for us. So I'll try to remember how we did that, but I remember reaching out to our customer success manager and just basically starting the conversation that, that's something that we wanted to do. Jobvite provided some code, some back-end code that goes into our Pactiv.com website. So there's some coordination on the back end between our IT team and the Jobvite, I'm going to say technical team, but there might be a better word for that. If there is, please let us know what that is. But basically that technical team to make sure that the redirect is happening. Because what happens when you're a job seeker, if you're on your phone, let's just say a phone, and you go to Pactiv.com, that piece of code detects the fact that the job seeker is using a mobile device and will seamlessly redirect them over to the mobile site. So that code is really important to get that code correctly working and get them directed to the mobile site. The mobile site that we have, Jobvite completely built that mobile site, and it works wonderfully, and it allows those job seekers who are on that mobile device to be able to read the whole job. They can see which ones are new. They can read the qualifications. It literally, you can just swipe up, and it just keeps flowing all through that job description. So, it's a great benefit to be able to have, but it was that easy. It really was that easy. A little testing to make sure that it's all working, and, it was pretty much good to go.
That's great to hear. Yeah, and I wanted to just give a little bit more background from the Jobvite side, because you're exactly right, Terry. It's just a part of our product, is that if you are a customer of Jobvite Hire, which is our applicant tracking system, there's different tiers, but everyone gets a mobile optimized recruiting site as a part of that product. However, regardless of what applicant tracking system you have, I want to say a good number of them do have the capability to have a mobile recruiting site. If they don't, definitely check out one that does because it is really important. But I'd also chat with your marketing team or whoever is in charge of your website and see if they can help out in transferring that career section of your website and making it as mobile friendly as hopefully the rest of your website is. So that's my 2 cents. But I wanted to move on to another question, and it's kind of the larger Pactiv recruiting strategy. How did you find the buy-in to do a complete rehaul of Pactiv's recruiting strategy? You really started from the bottom and rebuilt everything. Was there a lot of advocacy that you had to do, a lot of metrics and reports that you had to build to prove that was worthwhile, or how did that work out?
Well, I'll start by saying when your CEO says spend a lot less money, figure out a different way of doing it, get the right quality people in, and make the experience worthwhile for both the hiring manager and the applicant. I mean, that was the incentive that we had. And as Terry said, we needed to look at the paradigm and had a shift. It was not conducive to a healthy recruitment organization when you have contract recruiters going out to outside agencies, hiring managers going directly to the recruitment firms going directly to the hiring manager. It was chaos, and we kind of labeled it, from chaos to Jobvite when we first started this venture, because that's what it was. What did we have to do to get the buy-in? Well, obviously from my boss and from the executive team, it was just spend less money. But the buy-in on the hiring manager part was to make it an interactive process where we were going to get them real-time quality candidates by having a backbone, a process in place that allowed them to see actively what was happening, hire recruiters in-house. We hired a set of recruiters in-house who then had engagement meetings, who sat down and looked at the jobs, looked at the descriptions, looked at what we needed to do, understood that it's not just a matter of finding the best body to fill a job, but to recruit for the future and hire for what we needed. And then being able to show the tools that they had. The greatest, compliment we could get is when a hiring manager said, look what I did. Because that's really what it should be. It should be the hiring manager doing it. It's not an HR function. It's not a recruiter's function. We're just opportunities and resources to help, but it's the hiring manager. I always said that the worst job that I would ever think could be possible from an HR perspective that I would never do and compliment those who do it is as a recruiter, because sometimes it feels like it's just a lose-lose situation. A great recruiter can find the best candidate in the world, present it to a hiring manager, the hiring manager hires that individual, and they say, well, that's because I hired him. The same scenario where a recruiter can find an individual, the hiring manager hires them, and they turn out to be not to be a good candidate. I say, well, it's because HR gave us bad candidates. So it's never a good scenario. The best compliment we had in the buy-in was the fact that you have control over who you want. We can get you the people there. We'll get you the right level of candidates. And then we started saving the company a ton of money. People were coming in, staying. We were getting them faster. And at the end of the day, we actually had a hiring manager experience, which Terry talked about, which never existed in the past.
Yeah, and to just kind of tag on the back of what Joe was saying, we talked about employee engagement, and really it's also about hiring manager engagement. And our hiring managers wanted to be so much a part of what we were doing and what that process was, and getting them involved, bringing in a focus group, talking to them about what their needs really were, so that we could not just find the applicant tracking system, but also build that process around it so that they were happening in conjunction together, so that we were keeping them connected and engaged with the process. I actually, yes, they're happier as hiring managers, but yeah, I think they're more satisfied as employees too, because they actually understand what goes into it, and they feel like they have that, like Joe said, that they're bringing people into the organization one way or the other, and the technology is a tool to help that happen. So it was a win-win both ways around.
That's fantastic to hear. I love that you guys were able to balance your recruiting expertise and all of that experience that both of you have together while increasing and improving your hiring manager, your hiring team's kind of self-sufficiency, and giving them the confidence to recruit for themselves with the tools that you've given them. Okay, well, I think that is all of the questions that we had from the audience today. So I wanted to thank both of you for joining us. I always love when I get to hear the Pactiv story and get little updates about what you guys have been doing to improve your recruiting strategy. And I know you guys are both busy, so thank you for taking the time. And thank you to everyone who joined us today for the webinar. Hope everyone has a great day, and I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Claire.
Thanks so
Bye,
much.
everyone. Bye.
Bye.